When these movies first came out, critics were mixed and audiences weren't sure what to think.
My TV Guide interview was 6 paragraphs about my boobs and how they fit into my suit.
Some flopped, others barely got noticed.
There is no quantum flux, there's no auxiliary, there's no goddamn shit!
But they kept circulating. People passed them around, quoted them, watched them late at night or at random house parties. And little by little, they turned into the kind of comedies that last longer than anyone expected. Galaxy Quest opens on a group of washed-up actors who once starred in a beloved sci-fi TV show. Years later, they spend their days signing autographs at fan conventions, going through the motions for nostalgia's sake. But then real aliens called Thermians arrive, thinking the actors are actual space heroes. They've built working versions of the ship and technology from the show, and they're begging for help against a brutal warlord. The cast has to fake their way through real missions, real danger, and eventually start acting like the heroes they once pretended to be. Alan Rickman, who plays the grumpy alien science officer, was a genuine fan of sci-fi and desperately wanted the part. He teased Sigourney Weaver on set about her alien memorabilia, and when Tim Allen stole a signed alien prop meant for Rickman, it sparked a hilarious on-set rivalry. The alien world scenes were shot in Goblin Valley, Utah, and the money paid to the state was used to pave roads in and out of the area, so the movie literally changed the landscape. Steven Spielberg tried to give feedback on the alien design, hoping for something more close encounters and less tentacled, but the creatures stayed. The whole cast bonded through heat, dust, and the kind of story that should have never worked but somehow does, completely. My Cousin Vinny opens with 2 college kids driving through Alabama, arrested for a murder they didn't commit, and stuck with the only lawyer they can get, Vinny Gambini, a cousin from Brooklyn who barely passed the bar. He shows up in a leather jacket with no trial experience, mispronounces youths, and immediately clashes with the local judge, who isn't sure whether to laugh or lock him up. But Vinny pays attention. He starts noticing things the prosecutors miss: bad eyesight, tire tracks, misidentified cars. He's chaotic, but he's not careless. And with the help of his fiancée Mona Lisa, who turns out to know more about cars than most mechanics, Vinny starts to build a real defense. Screenwriter Dale Launer based Vinny on someone who kept failing the bar and took a road trip through the South for research. He talked to real DAs and locals who were nervous about being portrayed as bumpkins, so he worked humor into the script without making it cruel. Some of the prison scenes were filmed with actual inmates as extras, who improvised threats so graphic they had to be cut entirely. In the courtroom card trick, Joe Pesci learned real sleight of hand, no camera tricks. That famous courtroom line, it actually came from real off-camera conversations between Pesci and the director, one of those accidental gems that ended up capturing the film's whole sense of clashing cultures. To Die For is about Suzanne Stone, a small-town woman with a camera-ready smile and a hunger for fame so sharp it cuts right through everyone in her way. She marries a guy named Larry, who owns a restaurant and just wants a simple life: kids, holidays, maybe a house by the lake. Suzanne, though, wants national television. She lands a job at the local cable station and starts a project interviewing teenagers for a show called Teens Speak Out. But that's not what she's really after. One of the kids, Jimmy, falls for her hard, and when Suzanne decides that Larry is a problem she needs to remove, she talks Jimmy into doing something permanent about it. Nicole Kidman dove deep into the psychology of women who get famous for the worst reasons. She watched real interviews with people like Pamela Smart, whose trial inspired the film, and worked with the director to shape Suzanne's tendency to break the fourth wall. The film is part satire, part documentary-style fiction. Actors improvising lines, real news clips folded in to make it all feel plausible. What you're seeing often doesn't feel like acting, which is the point. It's a comedy, but there's nothing silly about it. It's about how fast media can twist a person's image, and how easy it is to believe what someone tells you if they smile enough while saying it. Office Space starts with Peter Gibbons stuck in traffic, moving inches at a time, wondering how his life got so small. He works in a cubicle at Inatech, a company that seems designed to suck the life out of everyone inside it. His boss asks for reports with no purpose, the printer never works, everything is beige. One day, a hypnotherapist tries to help him relax, but dies in the middle of the session, leaving Peter in a blissed-out daze where he simply doesn't care anymore. He stops showing up to meetings, ignores deadlines, and somehow, this gets him promoted. Director Mike Judge knew exactly what made offices quietly unbearable. He insisted on 6-foot cubicle walls to make the space feel claustrophobic, and filled it with washed-out gray tones that made even fluorescent lights look tired. Peter's apartment was so empty, just a mattress, a TV, and a chair, that cast members called it accidentally perfect. The entire production felt too real. Even background actors were assigned fake Bad Company t-shirts and inside jokes. Only people who'd survived office life would notice. That weird 6-sided logo in the background, shaped like a pentagram on purpose. The film wasn't meant to be huge, but everyone who saw it knew someone like Milton, and most people felt like Peter. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is barely held together by plot. It's a spiral, one long, chaotic trip between journalist Raoul Duke and his attorney, Dr. Gonzo, as they drive through the desert toward Vegas with a trunk full of drugs and no clear plan. Duke is supposed to be covering a motorcycle race. Instead, they bounce between hotel lobbies, acid trips, hallucinated lizard people, and the slow collapse of every ideal they thought America once stood for. Hunter S. Thompson wrote much of the book during a real breakdown. He was alone in a hotel with his lawyer's gun, scared of being arrested, and scribbling notes on stationery in a panic. Those scribbles became the foundation of the novel's first half, and eventually the film. Director Terry Gilliam and production designer Alex McDowell built that chaos into every inch of the movie. The casino interiors were filled with moving lights, carnival rigs, and mirrors bouncing color from one wall to the next. Some of the lighting was so experimental, they had to build it during the shoot itself. The result was a movie that doesn't simulate a drug trip, it throws you into one. The comedy is messy, sometimes cruel, and rarely clear. But it captures something raw about America in the 70s, the search for freedom turning into a bad trip with no way out.